morning, everybody. How are we doing today? I'm by myself. Kathy and Roman are not available for this morning show. I miss Kathy very, very much. And I would like to remind you that Kathy is in a need of your support. And the Kathy went to a health episode and she's looking to have some support. She needs to have a filter. She needs to do some modification, minor modification to the house. She needs to have medical support and so on and so forth. Because her last episode of the COVID, excuse me, the COPD, not the COVID, the COPD, and her heart situation create more of a challenge to her, more of a challenge financially, and health wise is more of a challenge. So I will beg you to consider uh, going to GoFundMe, Kathy, and here's the link below. I will put that on the comment so you can share this link with everybody. You can have access to it and be generous. Any penny counts. So if you have a penny, Kathy will greatly appreciate. So I'm typing the link to you. And here it is. I'm posting it like that so everybody can see it. And we'll take it from there. So, excuse me. Since Roman is not available, he get a last minute call and he's attending some event with his expertise is very much in demand. Kathy is in the end of the doctor this morning. It's nothing. She's not. She's doing better. Let's put it that way. She feels much and much better day after day. Nevertheless, she went to see the doctor for a follow up today, and this is why she cannot join us as we speak at this moment on the show. But I select for you a show we did a few weeks ago. And the reason I select that show is because this is exactly why we're doing that show. And our guest on the show there was uh, Positive Change Prison Program, and the leader of the program was with us. So, without any further ado, I will share this screen with you and I will give you immediately um, this video for your enjoyment. Hold on a second. I'm all by myself here and I need to find the link. This is the link, I believe. And here's the video. And I will start the video and once in a while I will stop and come back to you. So here it is. Oops. I start and stop it.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
We have a special guest with us this morning. This is Zach Scow, and for those of you that don't know him, he's been on our show before. He is the founder of Marley's Mutts Dog Rescue, and for those of you that don't know about Marley's Mutts, here's Halo that he's got, and
Poor Rose. This is my vice president of marketing.
Yeah, there you go.
Very
Yeah.
efficient.
Very fancy.
Yeah, and she has no front paws, as you can see. Zach, real quickly, if you don't mind, would you share with us how you got into Marley's Mutts before we go actually into the program? Today we're talking about Positive Change, which is a prison program that Zach has been running since 2016, and we're going to find out how he does things and the ins and outs, and exactly what it is that he has been doing that actually has been a pretty good secret for a lot of people to know what the real effect is. So tell us how you got into it, if you don't mind, Zach.
Well, I started in animal rescue in 2003, 2004, when my life was really spiraling out of control. And I hit my rock bottom in 2008 when I went liver failure, which was brought on acute alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. So I drank myself into liver failure at 28 years old. And after spending 6 weeks in the hospital and being admitted to a transplant program at Cedars-Sinai, I was sent home to try to survive 6 months to get my liver transplant. And I was given less than 90 days to live without a transplant. It didn't look like I was going to survive. And kind of in my darkest moments, both from like a suicidal thoughts perspective, as well as just a overall emotional, spiritual wellness perspective, my dogs saved me. They were there for all of these really pivotal negative moments in my life and kind of helped scrape me off the floor and pick me back up and get me back into some semblance of loving myself, some semblance of wanting to be alive, to be honest, because I had lost all will to be alive and to fight and to try to survive. And after really just started walking with my dogs, the organization just developed naturally out of that. My community saw this yellow guy in liver failure with all these rescue dogs and all these posters I was putting up all over town and these schools I was visiting and other places that I would go to educate. And they really supported me and kind of sent me off on this trajectory to form Marley's Mutts. And that's what happened. And we've never looked back. It's really been a community organization that started with believing in me and wanting to help me survive and beat liver disease. And it's really just blossomed into a comprehensive animal welfare organization that has helped our community go from 90% euthanasia to no kill in less than 10 years. And the whole impetus for me to start Marley's Mutts was not to start Marley's Mutts. I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to figure out a way to be alive, not want to take my own life, and not succumb to this terrible disease of alcoholism and liver disease. And then out of that, this beautiful purpose was born and found, and I've kind of grabbed a hold of it and never looked back. So the first decade was spent with special needs dogs and all hundreds and hundreds, thousands of dogs of all sorts, kind of the worst of the worst, dogs that nobody would save, nobody wanted. And now it's moved on to people, people who are incarcerated and feel hopeless and purposeless and without direction. So I've really plugged into something magical and an energy source that really keeps me fulfilled and overwhelmed at times because it's such important work. But bringing those two worlds together of animal welfare and animal sheltering and kind of people welfare and people sheltering has been incredible. And I feel very grateful to be in this line of work, to get to wake up and pursue my passion every day of helping, provide hope and opportunity to people and pets.
Oh my gosh. When I listen to that, I always call it my goosebump moments. When I get goosebumps, that's like a divine intervention. It's a spiritual connection that I feel. I know Roman saying the same thing. And I just, I'm so in awe over what you have done over the years. Zach and I have been friends now on Facebook, I think about 10 years, and since the beginning, actually. So we followed along, and every time I see him do something, it's like, how did he get that to happen? How did he do that? And because that connection that he has with the dogs is so phenomenal, when I saw that you were doing this positive change, that was on the last show, Gaetan. I know that he mentioned it before, but now we're at the point where I'm paying attention, and Roman's paying attention, and Gaetan's paying attention, because now it's making sense that you are changing people's lives, and it's the dogs that are making the difference in the people's lives, and the people are making the difference in the dogs' lives. So
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I
Yeah.
know Roman's sitting here wanting to ask you a question. So go ahead before we go into how your program works.
Well, first of all, Zach, I want to appreciate you for staying with us in general. And I know from personal experience, going through medical trauma, emotional trauma, you're kind of like the last dog in the shelter that went through and kind of got out of there. And I feel not only your story is inspiring, but also the way you do the action and work around that. I don't think there are many people out there that you can or haven't been in the same situation they were, so you can actually tell them, hey, dude, you think you're messed up? Been there, done it, but I'm here now, so you have an option.
Yeah.
Okay. And I got out with a dog, and you have that option. So I think giving those people behind bars that option and that vision, so they're not ending up with you back in time where you actually gave up because you didn't see any options anymore, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the biggest thing that happened with me. I would say the biggest factor that contributed to my alcoholism, towards my downward spiral, towards my lack of intrigue in life. I just didn't want to be alive, was lack of self-esteem and self-confidence. I had worked my way through so many terrible situations, through hurting people, through being hurt, that I just didn't want to be alive. And working with dogs, there's a undeniable reciprocal exchange of love, and an unconditional love too. That is, when you're at your worst and you get to experience unconditional love and actually feel it. It's hard for me to feel it from people. At my worst, when I was at rock bottom, it was very hard for me to receive love from my friends or family. I just was so shameful, and I was so down that any love that was sent my way almost felt like it was like mocking me, like it was not genuine. Because after all, how could you still love me after all that I'd done, and considering what I was, But for whatever reason, it was just I could accept it. Accept the love they were trying to give me, what they were trying to show me. And in my darkest moments, they were just trying to show me that I was still there, that I was still present. That
you mattered.
Yeah, but that I hadn't lost myself. That was an important thing, because when you're addicted to drugs and alcohol for a long time, there was a couple moments where I found myself reflecting on myself, looking at my eyes and taking in my own being, and I didn't recognize myself. I didn't recognize the way I looked, recognize what was staring back at me. It was a very bizarre, scary time to be looking back at something in the mirror that you don't recognize. And what my dogs were able to do is slow me down and really let me know that I was still in there, that person that had all this potential and that was very loving and very spiritually minded and very empathetic and all these things, that I was still there, that the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction hadn't decimated my consciousness and my emotion, my ability to be emotional and empathetic and all these things that are all this emotional and intelligence that I prided myself in. I've always prided myself in being able to relate to people and being able to connect with people. And I thought I had lost that too. I thought I had kind of, when you lose so much self-love and so much self-respect, so it wasn't just self-esteem, it was like all of the variables that compose self-esteem, self-respect, anything I just didn't have. And my dog started to work that back into me, and I could grasp it. I could grasp what they were trying to communicate to me, unconditional love they were sending my way. It had an effect, whereas working with people didn't necessarily have an effect. I always thought their words were hollow. And like I said, after all, how could you love me considering what I was at the time? So they just started to rebuild me. And then, self-esteem is something that's created through action. And so I was able to to start getting into action, into work, instead of just theoretical things that were going to help me improve, and started to turn my life over to a power greater than myself. So that was this greater spirituality of what surrounds us at all times, but it was also putting my love, my will, my effort into helping something other than me. And when that happened, when that mental transition happened from feeling sorry, I spent all my time feeling sorry for me. Just, if you knew how terrible my life was and how awful
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
me, and please feel sorry for me. And that's the only way I got what I needed, was through sympathy and feeling sorry.
And boo-hoo.
Yeah, boo-hoo, big time. And when that stopped, or when that lessened, it really, I really plugged myself into a greater purpose. And there's been nothing like that. I still have these bouts with lonely, feeling misunderstood and things like that, but I've never been as lonely as I was since then, because I've been able to plug into this greater mission.
Okay, so now you've explained where you've come from and everything. How did you transition to realizing that prisoners were the forgotten ones, just like dogs are the forgotten ones? They're both behind bars. They made a mistake, or things may have happened, or circumstances put them in a situation that they have no control over. How did you bring them together before we show your video?
Well, we started initially. We always knew we wanted to work inside of institutions. It just always made sense to us, because that was who I identified most with. Folks who were kind of on the outskirts of society, who were trying to work their way back into acceptance, who may have lost all the things that I lost. And in this case, their freedom, their self-esteem, their self-respect, all of those things. But also, we were looking for fosters. To be honest, we didn't have a facility at the time, so we were trying to find ways to save more lives. We were trying to get creative and figure out, all right, we had been working with rehabs, so we've been sending dogs to sober living and rehab facilities, right? And that was working out really well. So
Good idea. Great idea.
Yeah. What about prisons?
Yeah.
Started with jails, and we tried for 4 years to get into jail at a variety of different institutions, and we just couldn't get our foot in the door. Well, we did get our foot in the door. It was unceremoniously kicked back out, and then finally we had another adoption. We had a really successful adoption to a gentleman who had been incarcerated for 13 years, and it changed everything about his life. His trajectory was most likely headed back for prison, to be honest, just because there were so little opportunities afforded to him. So few opportunities and very little hope, I think, internally. When he adopted Shadow, who had been shot, she had a lifestyle that he could relate to. It just changed everything. He began to work to give his testimony. He didn't feel scared or lonely out in public. So it's having a dog with you is always a conversation starter. It's always a distraction in a positive way. It's always something that can help lessen your social anxiety. The social anxiety is all about connection. It's all about feeling uncomfortable and feeling judged and all the rest of it. But if you have this one beautiful distraction that dogs can be, it's a common denominator first, so it helps people relate to one another, because you can just talk about the dog, and it just brings down a lot of those barriers that I think formerly incarcerated people feel in terms of judgment and all the rest of it. So he ended up starting his own animal rescue and is thriving in this work. So after that adoption, we knew we had to really push hard to get ourselves into state prison facility. And thank God, Warden Long took a chance on us, and he admitted us the first month of 2016 to California City Correctional Facility. And then we have been operating ever since. We operate a 14-week-long program. So it's 2 weeks of orientation that is bringing in a variety of different energies of dogs to get them used to leash handling, to get them used to the basics. And then it's 12 weeks of the dogs living in the facility. We usually have about 2 to 3 handlers per dog. We have 2 primaries and 1 alternate, because they have a lot of things going on in prison. But they're training 13 hours a day. We're going in there for 4 hours a week. We're giving heavy curriculum. There are speeches, there's homework, the benefits are almost too much to list. There's all the obvious things that happen when you come into prison. When you bring dogs into a prison setting, It brings the staff and the incarcerated students together. It brings people from separate races, and it's a very racialized place. It's extremely segregated, not by CDCRs. It just, that's how the prison system self-regulates, is through segregation. So it really brings people together outside of their race, outside of their gang, outside of the area where they're from. And then also what we just talked about, that unconditional love, that caring for something, that plugging into something positive. You know, prison is a very, very, very dark place, and you're sustaining darkness for a very long period of time. In many cases, most of our students are long-term incarcerated. So they have been convicted of violent crimes or multiple crimes, or already have strikes. So they're in for more than a decade, which is an incredibly long period of time. And it can make or break you, in the sense that it can make you a worse human being very easily. If you're surrounded by darkness, it's pretty easy to succumb to that darkness. And the dogs are this lifeline of light that really helps prevent them from taking further paths to the negative. And also, like, just getting back to building self-esteem. You know, when you can, when you use your own energy, your own light, your own love, your own application that comes from only within you to rehabilitate and save another life, and then take that life and give it to another family that exponentially assists them, that adds something to their family, it really gives you a sense of worth. And I think worthless and fraudulent feelings and shame are a lot of what people like myself and incarcerated individuals feel like. Is this, how do we overcome all of this shame, all of this, these negative thoughts? And you do it by getting into action and by contributing to something other than yourself. And so the whole mechanism of and getting out of your comfort zone. You know, we have a lot of speeches. When you have to give a speech in front of your whole entire class, and you have to do it regularly, and it's got to be 3 minutes, you know, there's just a lot of breaking down barriers, breaking down restrictive thoughts, and just getting into this idea that none of us are too far gone. Just like the dogs, you know, even though these dogs, some of them have been to the shelter 4 or 5 times, you know, that none of us are broken, that none of us are beyond reproach, that we all have, that there's hope for all of us. And you'd be surprised how much a little bit of hope and a little bit of access to opportunity does to shift someone's mind. You know, when you are incarcerated for a very long period of time, and you're looking at no real way to redeem yourself, like, how do I make up for this? You know, when my time is up, when I'm done with my 15 years in prison, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with myself? Am I just going to return to drugs and alcohol? Am I just going to return to the lifestyle that I knew? And in our program, you know, it really gives guys an opportunity to find out what else they're good at, to learn to become a behaviorist, to become a trainer, to become a technician. So one of the most beautiful byproducts of our program is that we discovered how many of these individuals have a future in animal welfare. And
yay!
Yeah, I mean, fully half of our graduates, half of our free graduates are employed in the pet industry. I mean, Jamal, one of our trainers, is opening up his own facility. He's been out now for 2 or 3 years, and he's opening up his own facility. He's got employees. Same with Jason, you know, another one of our students, served a long time in prison and has been out now for 2.5 years. I was in his wedding. He's got employees. He's, you know, so it affords this opportunity to become a contributing member of society and to do something that formerly incarcerated don't have access to, which is just the approval of your culture. You know, we have fundamentally done formerly incarcerated people such a disservice by ostracizing them in perpetuity. We can call them criminals for the rest of their life. We can call them ex-convicts. We have all these stigmatic terms that we refer to them as. And if you took that idea and applied it to any of us, right? Like, all 4 of us on this call have lied. We've all hurt people very close to us. We've probably had terrible thoughts that we don't want to be accountable for, and we've probably done terrible things that we don't want to be accountable for. But never in a million years would we be referred to as like liars for the rest of our life. Well, here's this. We'll be joining Zach Scow, the lying POS. Dog Connection TV. So even though I've been a lying POS in the past, I don't get referred to as it. So just how we treat formerly incarcerated people is just completely unfair. And all these rules about redemption and a path to wellness and these things, we have not afforded them, and we haven't given them a true pathway to redemption. And this program's a real light in terms of providing that.
So why don't we take a look at one of your videos that pretty much goes over your positive change program so that people can see firsthand what it's all about.
Awesome.
Okay, let's start with this.
Dogs saved my life. They were my medicine. And it's my experience that they can do that for everybody. And when we walk into prison, you can feel the unhealthy energy. So what we aim to do is bring that medicine into prison and help shift it into wellness. My name is Zach Scow, and I'm the executive director and founder of Marley's Mutts. And our goal is to help make Kern County a no-kill county. We have an education program, a therapy dog program, transportation program, spay-neuter program, and of course our Positive Change inmate canine training program. Positive Change is a comprehensive inmate canine training program that is active in 4 California state prisons. We take high-risk dogs from high-kill shelters and bring them into California state prisons to rehabilitate with high-risk violent offenders. It is my experience that dogs are medicine, and prison is a very, very unhealthy place. So when we bring these dogs in as medicine, you can see the shift towards health. You can see the shift from darkness, extreme darkness, to a place of light. In 2008, I was diagnosed with end-stage liver disease, a result of acute alcoholic hepatitis. I was given less than 90 days to live without a liver transplant, and I wasn't going to get a liver transplant without 6 months sobriety. For me, living without alcohol just wasn't an option. I needed alcohol and drugs to live, to face the day, to face myself, to face the man in the mirror. I didn't recognize who I saw. And I could feel my dog sitting behind me, and I turned around and looked at my dogs, and all 3 of them were looking up at me, like I'm the greatest person that's ever existed in the history of people. And I wanted to be the person that they saw in me. And that facilitated a big change, a big shift in me. And the next day is when we started on our quest towards wellness. So Marley's Mutts exists because my dogs helped save my life, and they've done so many times since then. And what we look to do is apply that same formula of dogs being medicine to guys who are incarcerated and help get them on the path for hope, wellness, direction, and purpose. By bringing these dogs into prison and helping train with these guys, we can help give them purpose and direction. A lot of these guys who've been incarcerated for their entire adult life don't have much hope when they get on the outside. Most of these dogs come from high-kill shelters and are high risk. So bringing hope to each of these demographics is what is so powerful and what's at the heart of this whole mission, and why it's so critically important to me. Since we started Positive Change 2.5 years ago, we've helped rehabilitate over 200 guys and more than 150 dogs that would have otherwise been euthanized. And what working with dogs does is it forces the envelope. It forces them to be empathetic. And you watch these guys transform. And the rapport and the respect that we establish inside Positive Change carries out into the real world. And that's when it starts to really translate into long-term wellness. All the guys who have been enrolled in our prison program who have been released are now involved in the pet services industry, making a living doing so. Make no mistakes about it. This isn't just a dog rescue. This is a people rescue. We have continued on this path, and people have joined in. All these people have said, I want to be a part of this. I want to get better with my dogs. I want to be a part of something greater than myself. So what can you do to help? You can volunteer, you can foster, you can donate, you can repost. We rely on our donors to keep this program afloat. It doesn't exist without our donors. We don't have state or county support to operate these programs. We have to do it on our own, and that's why we need your help. We need people to invest. We need people to believe in this program and understand the long-term benefits of it. If you're interested in donating, volunteering, or adopting a dog, go to marleysmutts.org.
Wow. Wow. Oh,
Wow.
bravo. I'm sitting here bawling. Oh my goodness.
About that is how many of those guys that are of our students that are in that video are now released and training professionals.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
Like in their prison garb is a trip, because Daniel and Jason are in that video a whole bunch, and I see them regularly, but on the outside now. So
Zach, I think I have one of your guys. Let me play this for everybody. I think this is good. Let's do this here. Let me do that. Add to the stream here. There we go. This is one of your guys.
Remember, when we walk our dogs, we always want to have calm, assertive energy. We want to take a breath. We want to set our intention. So a little phrase that you can remember when we're walking our dogs is on our terms, but their time. On our terms, but their time. So everyone repeat that. Remember that our terms, their time. All right, the Texas 20 minutes walking steps is going to take us 20 minutes walking steps. Eventually, we'll build up on that. So remember, our terms, their times. Otherwise, we can just frighten the dog, we'll just drag the dog, and then the dog won't want to be with us. But remember, it's all about establishing ourselves so the dog will want to trust us, we want the dog to want to love us, we want the dog to want to respect us. So when we're walking our dogs today, just remember, calm, assertive, set your intention, take your breath, hold the leash loose in your hand, shoulders back, chin up, look straight, and just go.
That looks good, Robert.
Yeah.
How's it feel?
Look at the pride they have.
Yeah.
So let him
So-
get the last one, Kevin.
That's Nosler, the gentleman who's hosting class. And when Nosler first came in, I heard him say a word for the first year. And now he's a mentor trainer.
Wow.
I literally don't think I heard him say a word. I met him the first time I met him 4 years ago. He's been in our program for 4 full years, and he's been a mentor for 2 years.
Really?
But he was completely silent, and he would get so nervous. Anytime he would talk, his hands would sweat so bad that he'd get self-conscious about shaking hands. And now he speaks in front of the whole class regularly like it's nothing.
I feel blessed to be here in this program. This 6 weeks, 7 weeks has been it's a lot of learning from everybody. Working with the guys, clean up all the classmates, all these top guys, working with the little dogs. That really make me change the way I think about inmates too. We're more than just inmates,
Yeah, buddy.
We're humans and we have feelings, and it's a good opportunity to show our emotions and our feelings. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to work with this dog. I want to take it home, but it's kind of like me. It's really true what the dogs show the way you are. I was just thinking this week that I was kind of getting frustrated because sometimes he listens, sometimes he doesn't. But it's not really the dog. It was me. So today in the morning, I was kind of praying a little bit and kind of getting meditating and feeling calm. And the dog can feel it right away. He's just with me and behind me, and So I like this program in general. I like everybody here. The coach, the head trainers, everybody. I'm just happy to be here. I don't know what to say, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. When you see something like that, then it's all worth it, isn't it, Zach? And I know Roman. I could see Roman because I know how sensitive he is, and Gaetan. I could see the emotions welling up in you, Roman. And Gaetan, I know that because that a lot of it has to do with the part of giving back and wanting to help other people and seeing that other people are hurting and in need. What a fabulous program, Zach. Yeah. Okay, I've been doing all the talking here. I know Gaetan wants to say something, so let's get him on here. You haven't heard from him yet. Go ahead, Gaetan.
I relate, Zach, I relate a lot with what you're doing. Many years ago, I was a volunteer in prison to give a seminar on meditation. And I came across 2 cases where one guy was ready for parole to release prematurely or before the end of his term, and he don't want to apply. He don't want to be released earlier. And I said, why? Why you don't, you have a good behavior. You can live prison right now and in few weeks, in fact, instead of staying here another 2 years. You say, everything is stable here. The walls are stable, the door are stable. I'm here and everything is stable. And for him, the issue was doubting himself going out in the world, not knowing what will happen to him going out. And he was there for 5 years. You have been there previously for 3 years for another offense. That was his second offense there. And he don't want to go out. And I relate to what you're doing and how you give a meaning to life to the prisoner there, a reason, a meaning, a value for themselves and for other people around him. And this is the best thing we can give to prisoner, a reason for being themselves and coming out and know that they have a life outside. There's opportunity, there's possibility. And yes, you can deal with the external world and deal positively and bring your contribution to the world. And what you're
Having
doing is
purpose.
what you having purpose. What you're doing is absolutely fantastic. Program like that should be like in every prison in the state, in Canada, in Europe. That kind of program, because it humanizes the human beings, bring the human out of the prisoner.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, is helping them feel human again. Because if you're treated like an animal, you're going to behave like an animal.
Right.
If
Yeah.
big part of this is restoring their humanity, is letting them know that you do have potential, that we do believe in you. Just believing in these guys, being just the level of affection I'm allowed to give. You're not really allowed to be affectionate in prison, but they give me a pass because of the value they see in me being big brother. And even, we're kind of big brother and father figures to one another. There's a lot of that takes place in prison for all of us. It's really remarkable to see, but to see them get some steam and to see them start to visualize what they're capable of. You talked about, I wanted to touch on for a minute, you talked about meditation and teaching meditation in prison. That's probably one of the most helpful tools that we use in our program for centering oneself. And see what he was describing about in the last video was he meditated and got himself into a calm state of mind, which then affected the lives around him. The dog that he was taking care of then was able to connect with more easily. And reactivity and understanding our surroundings and how our energy affects things that are happening is a big part of why we succeed or fail. So what this program really shows is that if you take a minute to balance yourself, if you take a minute to breathe, to center yourself, you can alter the way you can kind of get out of your own way. So many guys are in prison for being reactive, for kind of following their natural reactive tendencies. And what the program does is kind of slow you down and get you into meditative, more conscientious frame of mind to really understand what's going on around you and not be reactive, and understand how your energy is affecting those things around you. So I actually learned how to meditate in prison. Kios, one of our students, I was having such a hard time. My brain is very scattered, and he gave me a whole bunch of practical tools to learn how to meditate. It was extremely helpful, and I still use those techniques today.
Yeah, I know Roman is very much into that as well, and I can see you're very touched by this, Roman. I know you are. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
The one thing that I recognize is that Zach, coming through that past experience, that at least most of the people who are in prison have been through and made certain choices. They start having an option, I feel, if I'm wrong, please correct me, that being judged by the environment and not being able to make up for it is a lot of emotional pressure. And it's not different in the dog rescue. if a dog has a bite history, he has a bite history. He's likely to end up dead at some point.
Yeah, great point.
And so going through the process of recognizing that this guy who's being accused to be as bad as I was, he has the chance that I can give him. So at some point, it becomes in his own parent towards the dog that he couldn't have, or he didn't have the opportunity to start becoming a parent to his dog and help that dog survive, which opened up a new window that he created because he becomes a creator instead of being created, right? To open up a new field and says, if I can do it to my dog, I can do it to myself.
Yeah.
Which propels him to the next level. So I can do anything I want without being judged.
Yeah. You're exactly right. That was like beautifully stated. That was beautifully stated. Yeah, it's exactly what does happen. There's like little epiphanies that take place where you go, oh wow, I can service to this creature. My energy, my application, my beliefs can help mold and guide this animal that truly needs somebody to advocate for it. I'm doing that. And then so you're right. What you see is this tendency to start advocating for themselves afterwards. They really start to shift into wellness, into focusing on how to better their lives. And they usually, if they haven't already, they'll enroll in a lot more self-help programs if they're available at school. You know, they really do. The dog program seems to catalyze a bigger shift internally, which is really important.
Well, one thing that I also see is that you're opening up, or you create a room for the prison system to start talking about behavior healing instead of behavior punishing.
Yeah.
Like that's a concept we don't have, I think, in prisons. What we slowly integrate in dog rescue. I'm coming from perspective, I don't correct the dog for his behavior. I heal the dog, the reason why he offers that behavior, which means at some point we come up down to a root of trauma. The reason why the dog makes those choices is because there's a trauma involved, and that trauma is the filter that becomes in a situation where your dog has to make a certain choice, which then I go back to the prison system that you have and tell him, hey, you're not the victim anymore because of your past and because of your trauma, because you can help yourself out of there.
Yeah.
And you give those small dots and small teasers. Here, this is the same trauma you have. The dog has the same trauma that you have. You guys have the both core trauma. So understanding the trauma, you can work your way out of it. And here's tool by tool how you can do that.
Yeah.
And I think
Great point. Great
that's
point.
an amazing approach. And we're totally here on the same line.
Yeah.
I was wondering, which was the question, what are the things where you bounce against? What is the system? Or let's say this way, what was the struggle you had to get to that level?
Yeah. We had a lot of struggles with just the prison system. One is just getting in the door in the first place, just having them allow us in, gaining the trust of both of the staff in the first place, that they would trust us, and then gaining the trust of the students. You know, we had all Hispanics started off not believing in the program. There was a kind of a memo that went out within the prison system for Northern and Southern Hispanics not to participate in the dog program because it might have something to do with correctional staff. So that was a big hurdle. And then we had someone basically cross the color line who was Hispanic. He was from Nicaragua. He was a former Air Force Special Forces named Arbaca. And once Arbaca crossed over, we had more Hispanics join. And then now Hispanics are our number one, like ethnic, background student. But I think some of the other barriers have been drug related, getting these guys to focus on sobriety, and it's actually worked out really well. Had a lot of we kind of integrate substance abuse program in our curriculum, and several of us are in recovery, so we're able to talk about it. But certainly anytime you introduce that kind of chaotic energy that comes with drug use, and we can easily tell those who are enrolled in the program that are involved with drugs. So that has been a bit of an issue just to in terms of energy. But Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's mostly positive. We had a lot of potentially negative situations with staff, but that's really gone away. They thought we were everybody's diametrically opposed. Staff is opposed against the student inmates. Student inmates are opposed against one another. So once we were able to tear down those walls and the students started to get along with the students and the staff started to see the value, we haven't really had any problems. Um, and a lot of it's been tremendously supportive. You know, the supervisory staff at prison has even removed officers who have not been who have not let the program thrive, you know, taken them off the program and put them in another yard. So that was the first time I went, oh my gosh, we really do have their support. I mean, there was a sergeant who really came after me for it to our students, and the warden moved that sergeant off the yard after the very public chastising he gave me in front of everybody. So that felt really good for the warden to see that the warden understood that type of chastising has no place in our program, and that me being affectionate with our students is very important for their development and for them to understand that we believe in positive male emotional interactions. You know, we have to facilitate as many as possible male emotional interactions. You know, it's very healthy. That's how a lot of these guys are in prison because they suppressed their feelings. They suppressed what they're feeling and instead kind of turned it into aggression or other unhealthy outlet. So we're just trying to do our best to avoid those types of
Do you guys have statistics about that? Have you kind of is there a documentation? This is where we started. This is what we did. This is the ins. This is the outs. This is the result. Is there any statistic overview?
Yeah, we're able to. We just applied for a data research grant. Well, it's not really a grant. It's an application to perform data and research within prisons. So we have a lot of anecdotal data. We have our own soft data that we've developed for the last 5 years of hosting the program. But we're working with prisons now on initiating, you know, real quantitative data within the program that we can. Once we've coalesced all that information and it makes sense, then we can get funding for everything, you know, but we really need that to happen because right now the last round of funding for the program for not one dog program in California got any funding from the state. We had a new care grant that was worth $7 million that they allocated for prison programming, and not $1 went to dog programs. It all went to other
Wow.
Yeah, it was really an abomination. There was more than $10 million allocated for programming, and not $1 went to dog between the innovation program grant and the care grant. So there's some disconnect within the state of California prison officials and really understanding what these guys need, because the biggest, what they truly need is access to hope and opportunity. If they can hope, they will be far better behaved student inmates. And if they have opportunity, then they'll really be working to get out of prison and in good standing because they will have opportunity when they're released. And the pet industry, you know, during COVID surpassed $100 billion. It's $100 billion industry. Which has such a tremendous need for dog trainers, behaviorists, kennel technicians, veterinary technicians, etc. And our program really sets these guys up for success in those fields. And it's also through our social media, you know, our culture has taken a fascination with our student inmates because of their background. So that's been kind of neat to see that they're not afraid of them. I was worried that people would, you know, because of Lockup Raw and all of these things that you see within our culture that showcase the life of the incarcerated, they're so negative and they're so dark that I was worried that too many people would be afraid of working with them.
What can we do for you? And this is not only for three of us, but our audience is listening. And what can we do for you?
Yeah, the best thing to help fund the program, you know, the program needs funding and trainers. You know, we could get this program into every prison in California, and we've started juvenile as well. We've had a girls program going for 3 years. We have a boys program that's going to start soon. We have our first women's program starting at a federal facility. So with the funds and with trainers, like, you know, if Roman were interested in helping us expand, you know, we just need access to trainers and trainers, shelter dogs, and prisons. You know, we just need those variables, and we can make it, and funding, and we can make this happen everywhere. It's really not that expensive of a program, considering what it provides from a animal welfare standpoint and a human welfare standpoint. But yeah,
You know what you need too, though, Zach? You need a production team that is out there documenting exactly what you're doing,
Yeah.
so that people can see, just like you showed in these videos here, somebody was there documenting what was going on to tell your story. You
Yeah.
need an ongoing thing. So we want to introduce that to you. We're coming up with a plan, and we want to introduce that to you so that maybe we can help you on that level too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we have a pretty good production team coming in to help us film a promotional in June. So we're doing a bunch of interviews with our students who have graduated, who are out, and we are focusing on our North Kern State Prison program. So we'll be going in with a really solid production team to
Good.
create something special to profile the program. I'm really excited about, because that's what folks really need to see. They have to see the transition that manifest in this program, the from you know, a person who is kind of destined to spend most of their life, the rest of their life, in and out of prison at great cost. That's the other thing, at great cost to the American public. You know, it's $80,000 a year to incarcerate one person in California.
Wow.
So we're saving, you know, if our program has prevented 50 men from going back to prison, imagine what that is from a tax standpoint. And then if you add on top of that the fact that they're contributing taxpayers now and even have employees and are business owners, other, you know, so the from an animal welfare standpoint, in terms of the dogs that aren't being shelter, that's a tax benefit. The fact that guys are not, the recidivism statistics are why we have a criminal justice problem. Recidivism is 75% basically. So 75% of those convicted of violent crimes and others, you know, end up back within a number of years. And that revolving door policy of not setting guys up for success and providing them with opportunity has created this industrial complex where people spend most of their time in prison. They can't become gainfully employed when they're out of prison because they don't have skills or access to an economy. And then the cycle continues. So, yeah, certainly there are more economies other than the pet industry that could introduce themselves to the incarcerated. But for right now, our program and all of the opportunities within the pet industry certainly offer a ton of hope and possibility for formerly incarcerated men and women. And what's really interesting too is it's introducing people of color who we don't have a lot of in the training world to the pet industry. You know, we have so many of our guys are Hispanic and Black who are professional trainers, and I didn't know of one professional trainer that was Hispanic or Black before we started this program. Certainly not a man. You know, to see a Black man in dog training was very rare. So we have a ton, and so it's not only introducing a disenfranchised population, meaning Black and brown incarcerated men, formerly incarcerated men, to this economy, but it's giving them a lot of hope in the economy and showing other young Black and brown kids that, hey, I can do this. This lifestyle is available to me. If I want to become an animal trainer, if I want to work with dogs, that's something that's available to me because they're seeing people that look like them engaged in that work.
Well, you know, that's true, because what happens is many times you rescue a dog or you rescue a human from something, they get out, like Gaetan said, and they don't know what to do and they don't know where to go. So I would imagine that's got to be the biggest fear of, what am I going to do? And I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at right now. I don't know that I want to go anywhere. So giving them that option is really, really, really fantastic, actually.
Totally.
You know, so I was just going to show a couple of pictures of your guys.
Yeah, that's Corcoran State Prison. That's the most dangerous prison in California, Fort Corcoran.
And then you've got some of these. Look at the happy face on this guy. And then you've got
Gray.
Small dogs.
Gray helped create this. That's his signature right there. Dre 2001.
Oh, wait, wait, Zach. They can't see you. Hang on a second. Okay, go.
This sketch is from that prison. A gentleman you just showed helped paint it, helped sketch it.
Oh, who is that? This guy here?
Yep, that's Dre.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you've got this one here,
Yeah, that's Wasco.
and this guy here.
Cool's been out for several years now. That's at California City Correctional Facility. Cool's a good buddy. He's a good.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up the show now, guys. What a fantastic show. Thank you so much, Zach. We definitely want to have you back on the show.
Of course.
Yeah. Cora?
Cora's ready.
Yeah, Cora?
Okay.
Okay, before we go, I know a number of you talked and everything. Dale's been here, Ron is here, Sebastian is here, Lou is here, Mohammed is here. I'm just going to go through this real quick. I know you all had some wonderful comments to make. And Muka is here. Muka says, this innovative ideas help the society. And if you look behind them, you see that it makes the society better with so many advantages. So Zach, any last words, everyone, you want to say? What's the last word you want to say, Zach? And then Gaetan, and then Roman, and then we'll call it a day.
That you guys give me this opportunity, and also that you're moving in a direction, that you guys are got some things behind the scenes and that relate to this. So I'm excited that you guys are getting involved the way you are, and created this platform to help give us a voice. It's terrific.
You bet, and we're going to be there with you. And thank you for offering to work with us so that we don't make mistakes that other people have made.
All for you.
Exactly, you made them all for us. And like I said, we just feel that the missing arm is really the day-to-day things and letting people see what goes on, because more and more people want to know the true stories of what really happened. Yeah. There's so much misinformation, and with the onset of social media, you had pointed out before that you get the bad guys that are in your group. You get one bad person and it could cause a bad situation for the whole team. So get rid of the troublemakers from the get-go before you go any further. Whoops, there's a bad guy. No, he's not. Let's get rid of him.
Yeah. Right. No, Charlie enjoyed the show, so he was talking like that. Thank you, Zach, for what you're doing. Thank you for helping people to find a reason why to live and find a way to provide and contribute to the society and find value in themselves.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Very welcome, Gaetan. Thank you, bud.
Thanks. Well, I only have to say I appreciate you for taking the disadvantage and make it your superpower and help other people do the same.
Yeah, man. Well said. I got to borrow quite a few of Roman's one-liners.
he comes up with them all the time. Well, Zach, he's going to be one of your best friends, because he's very, very good at what he does, just like you're very good at what you do. And the two of you together, along with our team, I think we're going to make miracles. You already have, but we're going to help you even bring them further. Very cool. Thanks so much for what you do. Love you, my friend. Thank you for being on the show.
All right, love you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.